Good evening, everyone. Imagine waking up every day with a sense of purpose. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing someone you respect, someone who's achieved more than they thought was possible. How would your life change if in just 90 days you could become that person? What if 90 days from now you could look back and see a completely transformed version of yourself? Today, I'm going to share with you the power of a 90-day challenge. A simple but profound journey that has the potential to change your life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and even financially. We often think of transformation as something that happens over years or even decades. But I'm here to tell you that 90 days is enough. 90 days can ignite a change so powerful, it will set the foundation for the rest of your life. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Too often we look at transformation as an all or nothing event, something that requires a dramatic shift, an overhaul, or a radical departure from where we are today. And when we think of change in that way, we immediately feel discouraged. That's not for me, we say. I don't have the time, the energy, or the discipline. And so we do nothing. We stay exactly where we are, convincing ourselves that change is reserved for those with more willpower, more motivation, or more resources. But what if I told you that real meaningful change is not about grand gestures, that instead of giant leaps, it's about the smallest steps? What if I told you that in just 90 days, by taking tiny, consistent actions, you could experience a transformation beyond anything you imagined? The secret isn't about doing everything at once. The secret is found in the power of small changes. Think about learning any new skill. Whether it's picking up a new language, mastering a musical instrument, or improving your physical fitness, nobody starts as an expert. You don't climb a mountain in one leap. You take one step, and then another, until one day you look back and realize how far you've come. Each small action performed consistently compounds over time. The challenge isn't in making the change. The challenge is in showing up every single day. Consistency is where real transformation happens, not in bursts of motivation, but in the daily choice to move forward, even when it feels like progress is invisible. The problem is that we often undervalue small actions because they seem insignificant in the moment. Skipping a workout today doesn't make you unhealthy, just like exercising once doesn't make you fit. But string those actions together day after day, and that's where the magic happens. That's where the real change begins to unfold. Imagine you decide to improve your health. Instead of overhauling your diet overnight, you make one small change. You commit to walking for 30 minutes each day. It's manageable, it's simple, and most importantly, it's sustainable. After a few weeks, walking feels natural, so you take the next step. You replace one unhealthy food item with something more nutritious. Then you start drinking more water. Before you know it, these small choices have compounded into something bigger. You're no longer just trying to be healthy. You become someone who prioritizes health. The same principle applies to every area of life. Want to strengthen your relationships? Send a thoughtful message to a friend once a week. Want to be more productive? Start by eliminating one distraction for 10 minutes a day. Want to develop a habit of reading? Read one page before bed. It doesn't matter what the goal is. What matters is the consistency of small, deliberate actions that move you in the direction of who you want to become. The reason this approach works is simple. Small changes remove the resistance that often comes with big changes. If something feels overwhelming, we tend to avoid it. But if it feels easy, if it feels manageable, we are more likely to do it. And the more we do it, the more it becomes part of our identity. We shift from, I'm trying to be healthier, to, I am someone who makes healthy choices. From, I want to be more organized, to, I am someone who values order. The identity shift is what creates lasting change. And that shift begins with the smallest, simplest actions. Now, some people may argue that small steps aren't enough, that in order to truly change, you need drastic measures. But think about it this way. How many times have you set a big, ambitious goal only to abandon it weeks later because it felt too difficult? It's not that the goal was impossible, it's that the approach wasn't sustainable. That's why so many New Year's resolutions fail. People try to go from 0 to 100 overnight, only to crash and burn when life gets in the way. Real change isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. There's a powerful concept in psychology called the aggregation of marginal gains. It's the idea that small 1% improvements repeated consistently lead to exponential results. Imagine improving just 1% each day. It doesn't sound like much, but over the course of a year, those tiny improvements compound into massive growth. And the best part? because each step is so small it never feels like a burden. It just feels like part of your daily routine. So what does this mean for you? It means that if there's something you want to change, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to wait until you feel motivated or until life slows down. You simply start today, right now, with one small step. And then you take another tomorrow and another the day after that. Before long, you'll look back and realize you've come further than you ever thought possible. The truth is, we are all capable of incredible transformation, not through massive, unsustainable efforts, but through small, intentional choices made every single day. It's not about willpower. It's not about motivation. It's about commitment to the process, no matter how small the steps may seem. Because in the end, it's not the big, dramatic changes that define us. It's the tiny, consistent actions that shape who we become. A dream without a deadline is just a wish. We all have dreams. We talk about them. We fantasize about them. We even write them down in our journals. But the difference between a dream and a reality is action, and action requires clarity. If you don't know exactly where you're going or how you're going to get there, then how do you expect to arrive? You need clear, measurable, and non-negotiable goals. Not goals that you consider when it's convenient, not goals that depend on how you feel on a given day, goals that you commit to no matter what. Imagine standing at the edge of a forest, looking at the mountain peak in the distance. That peak is your goal. You can see it, but without a marked trail, without a plan, you'll get lost. You'll wander, stumble, and eventually give up. That's what happens when goals lack specificity. Instead of saying, I want to be healthier, say, I will lose 15 pounds in 90 days by working out 5 days a week and eating clean. That is clear, that is measurable, that is a commitment, not a wish. Think of an Olympic athlete. They don't wake up and decide whether or not they feel like training. Their goals are non-negotiable. They train whether they're tired, whether it's raining, whether they feel unmotivated, because they have a vision, and that vision is stronger than their excuses. The moment you make your goals non-negotiable, everything changes. Progress is built on structure. You don't climb a mountain in one giant leap. You take it step by step, milestone by milestone. Goals must be broken down into weekly, even daily targets. If your goal is to run a marathon, you don't start by running 26 miles. You start with 1 mile, then 3, then 5. You track your progress. You hold yourself accountable. And most importantly, you don't wait for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates. What gets you to the finish line is discipline. We've all had moments where we set a goal and then abandoned it. We let distractions, doubts, and discomfort win. But when something is non-negotiable, you remove the option of failure. If you have a job, you don't wake up and decide whether or not you feel like going to work. You go because it's a commitment. Apply that same mindset to your personal goals. Let's take an example. Imagine you're a writer who dreams of finishing a novel. Saying, I want to write a book someday is meaningless. Saying, I will write 500 words every morning before work, 5 days a week, until my first draft is complete in 6 months is powerful. It's clear, it's actionable, it's a promise to yourself. Non-negotiable goals don't just change what you do, they change who you are. When you honor your commitments, you build self-trust. You prove to yourself that you are someone who follows through. And that confidence spills over into every aspect of your life. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop making excuses. You stop hesitating. And here's the truth. The people who achieve their goals are not always the most talented, the smartest, or the luckiest. They are the ones who refuse to quit. They are the ones who show up day after day, regardless of how they feel. So ask yourself, are your goals negotiable or are they non-negotiable? Are you waiting for the right time or are you creating the right time? Are you making excuses or are you making progress? The answer to those questions will define your future. It's time to decide. It's time to commit. It's time to set goals that are clear, measurable, and non-negotiable. And once you do, don't look back. Don't waver. Keep moving forward, step by step, until you reach that peak. Because when you do, you won't just achieve a goal. You'll become the kind of person who achieves goals. And that is the real victory. In any challenge, the first hurdle we need to overcome is the mind. It's easy to stay stuck in the rut of your comfort zone, doing the same things, getting the same results, and convincing yourself that this is just how life is. It's a pattern we fall into because it feels safe. But comfort is a double-edged sword. It keeps us from pain, but it also keeps us from growth. Think about the narratives we tell ourselves every day. The voice inside your head that says, I've never done this before, so I won't succeed. Or, I tried once and it didn't work, so what's the point in trying again? These are not truths. They are just stories. Stories that we've repeated so many times that we start to believe them. But here's the thing. You're not defined by your past. The story you've told yourself so far is not your final chapter. A 90-day challenge isn't just about doing things differently. It's about seeing yourself differently. It's about recognizing that the only thing standing between you and success is the belief that you can achieve it. It's about shifting the dialogue in your head from I can't to I will. That simple change in mindset creates a ripple effect that alters how you approach every challenge, every obstacle, every opportunity. Look at some of the most successful people in history. They weren't immune to failure. They weren't born with an instruction manual for success. What they had was the ability to persist through uncertainty. Take J.K. Rowling. Before her books took the world by storm, she was a single mother living on welfare, rejected by multiple publishers. But she had one thing that propelled her forward: belief in her own potential. She didn't let past failures define her. She committed to the process, and in time, she transformed her life. Now, you might be thinking, that's great for her, but my situation is different. And you're right. Your situation is different. But the principle remains the same. It's not about whether your journey looks like hers. It's about whether you are willing to shift your mindset to see possibility instead of limitation. Let's talk about how this shift happens. It's not an overnight transformation. It's a daily commitment. Every time you tell yourself you can't do something, challenge that thought. Ask yourself, what if I could? Instead of saying, I don't have the experience, say, I can learn. Instead of saying, I've failed before, say, that failure taught me something valuable. There's a reason we admire people who push past their limits. It's because deep down, we know we're capable of the same thing. We know that resilience is within us. But we often wait for permission to use it. Stop waiting. No one is going to show up and tell you that you're ready. You have to decide that for yourself. Imagine what your life could look like 90 days from now if you truly embraced this mindset shift. Not just for a moment, but consistently. Imagine waking up each day with the belief that change is possible, that you are capable, that you have what it takes. How would you act differently? How would you show up for yourself? Here's the truth. The most significant changes in our lives don't come from external circumstances. They come from the internal decisions we make. The decision to believe in ourselves, the decision to push past fear, the decision to take action even when it's uncomfortable. The people who achieve incredible things are not necessarily the most talented, the most intelligent, or the most experienced. They are simply the ones who refuse to let doubt be the loudest voice in the room. They choose courage over comfort. They choose action over excuses. They choose to see themselves not as they are, but as they could be. So the question is, what will you choose? Will you continue telling yourself the same old story, or will you write a new one? One where you are the person who rises to the challenge. One where you are the person who proves to yourself that you are capable of more. Change doesn't happen when we wait for the perfect moment. It happens when we decide that now is the time, that today is the day we stop holding ourselves back, that we no longer let our past dictate our future, that we recognize that within us lies the potential for something greater. It all starts with one simple, powerful belief, that you can. And once you believe that, nothing can stop you. The key to success in any journey, whether personal or professional, is not just about having the right tools or the perfect plan. It's about the people who surround us and the commitment we make to one another. It's about the power of accountability. This is the force that keeps us moving forward, especially when the road ahead seems too long, too difficult, or too uncertain. Accountability isn't just a concept, it's a game changer. It's the invisible thread that connects us to something bigger than ourselves. And it has the power to turn challenges into triumphs. When we set out on our own, the path can seem overwhelming. The voice of self-doubt creeps in. We make excuses. We tell ourselves it's okay to take a break, to delay things, to push our goals off until tomorrow. It's so easy to fall into the trap of, I'll do it later, when no one is watching, no one is asking, and no one is counting on us. But here's the truth. When we do it alone, we only have ourselves to answer to. And too often we let ourselves off the hook. But when we bring others along with us, when we share our goals, when we let someone else know what we are striving for, that's when things change. That's when the stakes get higher and the results start to speak for themselves. Have you ever had someone in your life, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or even a teacher, who held you accountable? I want you to think back to a time when someone asked you how you were doing with your goals. Maybe it was a fitness challenge or a project at work. You didn't want to disappoint them. You didn't want to let them down, so you kept going. You showed up. You pushed harder. You stayed on track, not just for yourself, but for them too. That is the power of accountability. It taps into our desire not to disappoint others, but it also taps into something even deeper, our desire to become better versions of ourselves. When we're accountable to someone, we don't want to be the person who gives up. We don't want to be the one who doesn't follow through. The simple act of sharing our goals and progress with another person can light a fire inside of us. It strengthens our resolve, keeps us focused, and forces us to stay on course even when the going gets tough. And here's the beautiful part. It's not just about showing up for ourselves. It's about showing up for others. It's about being part of something bigger than just our own journey. Let me tell you a story about Sarah. She wasn't a runner. In fact, she had never really been into fitness. But she decided to challenge herself. She set a goal. She was going to run a 5K. Now, for someone who wasn't in great shape, this might seem like a daunting task. But what made it possible for Sarah wasn't just her desire to finish the race. It was the community she became a part of. She joined a group of people who were all committed to the same challenge. They set their goals, shared their progress, and celebrated every small victory along the way. And when Sarah wanted to give up, when the runs got harder, when the weather turned cold, when the temptation to skip a workout was overwhelming, her friends didn't let her quit. They pushed her. They encouraged her. They showed up for her, even when she couldn't always show up for herself. On race day, Sarah crossed that finish line, but the real victory wasn't just in the fact that she finished. The real victory was in the transformation that had taken place inside of her. She had proven to herself that she was capable of so much more than she ever thought possible. She had taken on a challenge that seemed too big, too scary, too far out of reach, and she did it. Not because she was naturally gifted or had special abilities, but because she had a group of people holding her accountable. They believed in her, and in turn, she started to believe in herself. That is the power of accountability. It's not just about achieving a goal. It's about the transformation that happens along the way. It's about the moments when we think we can't keep going, but we do it anyway because we know someone is watching. It's about being part of a community where we inspire one another, where we lift each other up, where we push each other to go further than we ever thought we could. Accountability is the bridge between intention and action. It's the catalyst that turns goals into achievements and dreams into reality. Now, let's take a moment to think about your own journey. What are the things you've wanted to accomplish but haven't yet? What are the dreams that still feel out of reach? Now ask yourself, who are you doing this for? Is it just about you? Or is there someone in your life who is counting on you to follow through? Is there someone who believes in you, who sees the potential in you, and who wants to see you succeed? That person may not even realize the impact they're having on your life, but their belief in you can be the very thing that helps you show up, push through, and achieve more than you ever thought possible. Accountability isn't just about checking off a list of tasks. It's about connection. It's about sharing your journey with others, being vulnerable and letting them in on your struggles and your victories. It's about knowing that you're not alone in the process. It's about understanding that every step you take, no matter how small, is a step forward. And when we know that others are with us, cheering us on, supporting us, and holding us to a higher standard, we rise to the occasion. We don't let ourselves off the hook. We don't quit. We keep going. So I challenge you today, think about the people in your life who can hold you accountable. Who can you share your goals with? Who can you turn to when things get tough? Don't wait until you're already halfway through your journey to bring someone in. Start now. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who challenge you, and who will keep you on track. Because when we have that support, when we have that accountability, there's nothing we can't accomplish. There's an old saying, you are what you repeatedly do. It's a simple truth, yet one that carries profound implications. What we do every day, the small choices we make, the routines we follow, these shape our identity, our success, and ultimately our destiny. If you want to change your life, you don't start with the grand sweeping gestures. You start with what you do today. The 90-day challenge is a powerful way to rewire the way we think act, and ultimately the way we live. It forces us to take control of our habits and consciously decide who we want to become. It is long enough to create lasting change, but short enough to maintain focus and commitment. Think about the habits that either push you forward or pull you back. Procrastination, self-doubt, negativity, poor self-care. These are the habits that quietly erode our potential. They don't seem dangerous in the moment, but over time they accumulate and create a version of ourselves that falls short of who we were meant to be. But here's the good news. The same principle applies to positive habits. The small, seemingly insignificant actions that support our goals. Reading, exercising, expressing gratitude, learning something new. These habits compound. Over time, they turn into remarkable transformations. Consider this. If you commit to reading just 10 pages a day, in 90 days you'll have finished a book. Not just a book, but knowledge, ideas, and perspectives that have the power to shift your mindset and open new opportunities. If you commit to writing 200 words every day, in 90 days you'll have written over 800 words, perhaps the first draft of a book, an article, or a journal filled with insights. If you dedicate 10 minutes each morning to meditation, by the end of 90 days, you will have cultivated a sense of clarity and focus that will carry into every aspect of your life. It's easy to underestimate the power of small actions. We're drawn to the idea of instant transformation, but real, lasting change is built incrementally. A single workout won't make you fit, just as skipping one won't make you unhealthy. But repeated over time, the small choices accumulate into something extraordinary. Success is never about intensity, it's about consistency. There's a reason why habits are difficult to break and even harder to form. Our brains are wired for efficiency, and what we repeatedly do gets ingrained into our neural pathways. When we engage in a behavior for 90 days, we reinforce those pathways until they become second nature. This is why the 90-day challenge works. It's not just about forcing discipline for a short time. It's about rewiring the way we think and act. Think about the times when you've started something new only to give up halfway. Maybe it was a fitness goal, a writing project, a new skill. The initial excitement wears off and resistance sets in. This is the moment that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. The key isn't motivation, it's the ability to push through, to show up, even when you don't feel like it. Because every time you do, you strengthen that new habit. And once it becomes part of your identity, it's no longer something you have to force. It's just who you are. Imagine what would happen if you fully committed to the 90-day challenge. Imagine choosing just one habit, one action that, if done consistently, would create a significant impact on your life. What would that be? Would it be waking up earlier, prioritizing your health, eliminating distractions, practicing gratitude? Whatever it is, commit to it, because 90 days from now, you could be in a completely different place. The power of the 90-day challenge is that it simplifies change. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about focusing on one habit and letting it transform you. The hardest part is starting. The second hardest part is sticking with it when it gets tough. But if you can make it through, you'll emerge on the other side as a person who no longer needs to rely on willpower because your habits will carry you forward. Your habits are the foundation of your future. The question is, are you building a foundation that supports the life you want, or are you reinforcing habits that keep you stuck? The choice is yours, and it starts today. As we embark on any journey, whether it's a personal goal or a professional pursuit, we often get consumed by the hustle. We dive into the grind, focus on the next task, the next milestone, the next big thing. We give everything we have to the process, pushing ourselves to move faster, work harder, and achieve more. And while this drive is essential, there's one critical component that is often overlooked: reflection. At the end of 90 days, when the dust settles, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of progress and potential. But how many times do we really take a moment to look back? How many times do we stop, take a breath, and truly evaluate where we are and what we've accomplished? More often than not, we don't. We move from one thing to the next without ever pausing to recognize how far we've come. We focus so much on the end result that we forget to honor the journey. And that's where the power of reflection lies. It's in that quiet moment of pause when we step back and assess the path we've walked that we find the real growth. Reflection is not about patting yourself on the back, although that's a part of it. It's not about celebrating what you've done or getting lost in your own success. Reflection is about being brutally honest with yourself. It's about understanding what worked and what didn't. It's about acknowledging the challenges you faced, the mistakes you made, and the lessons you learned. It's a moment to take a deep breath and ask yourself, who have I become in the process? Because here's the thing about growth. It doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't happen simply because we set a goal and work toward it. Growth happens when we stop to look at the impact that goal had on us. Growth is about recognizing that we are not the same person we were when we started. We have changed. And if we don't take the time to reflect on that change, we risk missing out on the deeper lessons that lie beneath the surface. Think about it. If you've been in a race, you don't just cross the finish line and forget everything that happened during the run. You don't just celebrate the end without acknowledging the miles you covered, the moments of doubt you faced, or the strategies that worked and didn't work. The same principle applies in life. At the end of any significant challenge, it's not just about checking off a box and moving on. It's about taking that time to reflect, really reflect, and understand who you are today compared to who you were 90 days ago. Consider the example of Michael Phelps, one of the most decorated Olympians in history. It's easy to look at his countless medals and think that his success came solely from talent or hard work. And while those elements played a significant role, the truth is much deeper. Phelps's coach didn't just push him to perform, he made reflection an integral part of his process. Phelps kept a journal where he documented his performance, analyzed his mistakes, and identified areas where he could improve. Every race was an opportunity, not just to compete, but to learn. His growth wasn't just in the pool, it was in his ability to reflect on his experience, learn from it, and apply those lessons to future challenges. This continual cycle of action, reflection, and growth is what propelled Phelps to become one of the greatest athletes of all time. So what does this mean for you? It means that reflection isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. After you've put in the work, after you've given everything you have, don't just move on to the next thing. Take a moment to pause, to look at where you've been, and to recognize the progress you've made. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What worked? What didn't? How have I changed? Because it's in that honest evaluation that we discover the true value of our efforts. Growth doesn't come from simply completing a task. It comes from understanding the task, the struggles, and the transformation that occurred along the way. When we reflect, we give ourselves permission to not just see the outcome, but to see the journey in its entirety. Reflection helps us understand our strengths, our weaknesses, and our potential. It helps us see that no matter what the outcome was, whether we succeeded or failed, there was value in the process. There was something to be learned, something to be gained, and something to be celebrated. But reflection isn't always easy. It requires vulnerability. It asks us to confront our flaws, to look at where we fell short, and to recognize the things we wish we had done differently. And that can be uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where the growth happens, because when we face our shortcomings head on, we open ourselves up to the possibility of improvement. We allow ourselves the space to evolve. And that is how we continue to move forward. You don't have to be an Olympic swimmer to benefit from reflection. You don't have to have a world record to understand the power of growth. We all have the ability to reflect on our experiences, to analyze our actions, and to learn from them. Whether you're working toward a personal goal, a professional achievement, or just striving to be better every day, reflection is the key to understanding who you are becoming and how you can continue to grow. At the end of these 90 days, take a moment. Don't rush past the finish line. Take a step back, breathe, and reflect. Look at everything you've accomplished. Look at the person you've become. Understand that the growth you've experienced in this time, whether big or small, is invaluable. You are not the same person who started this journey. And that change is something worth celebrating. So when you take the time to reflect, know that you are doing more than just acknowledging your progress. You are committing to your continued growth. You are giving yourself the chance to learn, to adapt, and to become the person you are meant to be. And in that process, you are setting yourself up for even greater success in the future. Reflection isn't just about looking back. It's about looking forward, too. It's about recognizing that the lessons learned today will fuel the decisions you make tomorrow. It's about understanding that growth is an ongoing process, one that doesn't end after 90 days, but continues as long as you are willing to learn, adapt, and evolve. Reflection is the key to unlocking your potential, and in that lies the true power of growth. 90 days. It doesn't sound like a lot, does it? In the grand scheme of life, 90 days might feel like a drop in the ocean. But let me tell you something. 90 days can be enough to completely transform your life. You can change your habits, reshape your mindset, and step into a future that is beyond what you ever imagined. The only question is, will you commit? Will you show up for yourself day in and day out, even when it's difficult? Even when the path gets hard, we all have days when we feel like we're too tired, too overwhelmed, or too unsure of what we're doing. And that's normal. It's easy to say, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm not ready for this yet. But the truth is, you're always going to feel that way at some point. The journey to becoming who you want to be doesn't start when things are easy or convenient. It starts today. It starts with making the decision to show up even when the motivation fades, even when the obstacles feel insurmountable. Think about the things you've already accomplished in life. What were the moments that truly shaped you? They weren't the easy days, were they? They were the moments when you had to dig deep, when you had to keep going even when you didn't think you could. It's those moments that make us who we are. And in 90 days, you have the power to create more of those moments. You have the power to look back and say, I did this. I showed up and I kept going even when it felt impossible. But here's the thing. It's not just about the end result. It's not just about achieving a goal. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about seeing that you are capable of more than you think. We all have untapped potential within us. The challenge is not about what's possible for others. It's about what's possible for you. You are the one who gets to decide how far you'll go. You are the one who gets to choose how much effort you put in and how much you believe in yourself. The clock is ticking. Every day you wait is a day you could be moving closer to the person you're meant to become. Your future self is waiting for you. It's waiting for you to take that first step. It's waiting for you to push through the doubt, the fear, and the uncertainty. And when you do, you'll realize that 90 days is more than enough to change everything. It's enough to shift the trajectory of your life. But none of this will happen unless you make the choice. The choice to show up. The choice to put in the work. The choice to believe that you are worthy of the future you dream about. That future is waiting for you. The question is, will you answer the call? Will you commit to doing the work day in and day out and prove to yourself that you are capable of more? The challenge has been set. The clock is ticking. Your future is waiting. The only question left is, are you in?